Zeldin. It's time New York finally has a governor from Suffolk or Nassau County. Together we can make that happen. I was born and raised here. After serving our country, I returned home to raise our family here. I've always fought for our Long Island values, from supporting our police to lowering taxes on working families. Now I'm asking for your vote on June 28th. Together, we can save our state.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance, led by the U.S. Navy veteran and the next Congressman from New York's 1st Congressional District, Nick Lalotta.
Good evening. Gentlemen, please take your hats off and place your hands over your hearts. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. God bless.
Please join us in the national anthem, led by Anthony Lagriga.
what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, o'er the ramparts we watch, where so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Whoa, shed us that star-spangled oh, the land of the free and the home of the brave. Thank you.
Please join me in welcoming Suffolk County Republican Chairman Jesse Garcia.
Suffolk County, Long Island, are you ready? No! Are you ready? Are we going to change the direction of this state? Are you going to save your state? Are you going to elect Lee Zeldin, governor of the state of New York? Ladies and gentlemen, the time is now. We are about 10 days and 1 hour away from changing the course of this government in this state. We are on a rescue mission, each and every one of you, and our general is Lee Zeldin. I want you to do one thing for everybody. If you care about your family, if you care about your neighbor and the people you work with, your small businesses, your cops, your first responders, your frontline workers, ladies and gentlemen, the energy we have, and do we have energy here? Let's let the liberals in New York City and Albany hear the power of Long Island! Ladies and gentlemen, red waves don't come, they're created. Each and every one of you are part of that red wave. We will take this energy, we will take this momentum, we will throttle down, and we will not stop until November 8th, when Lee Zeldin is elected governor. And with Lee Zeldin as governor, he's going to bring his statewide candidates with him. He's going to bring here at Suffolk County and Long Island new members of Congress, Barbarino, Malona, DeWaldo, SDS, Mazzino in Nassau County, a state senate, and more members of the state assembly, ladies and gentlemen. Because in one fell swoop, we are going to make the red wave of 2022 and Lee Zeldin bigger, better than anything we've ever seen before. But only you can do it. Let's let every Democrat, liberal, progressive Democrat know we are on a rescue mission, the Republicans are coming, and Lee Zeldin will lead this ticket to governance. God bless you. Let's rock and roll to November 8th.
Your New York State Republican Chairman, Nick Langworthy.
Last year, the red wave kicked off in Nassau and Suffolk County, sending a message that Republicans are back. And Lee Zeldin, I couldn't be more proud of him, crisscrossing the state. He's hit all 62 counties of the state of New York at least a half a dozen times. No one's worked harder. No one's taken the message. No one's raised more funds. No one has told the truth about the one-party Democratic rule that has destroyed the state of New York. Folks, I'm from Buffalo. We don't like Kathy Hochul there either. And guess what? No one has ever elected Kathy Hochul governor of this state. She's a temporary fill-in, and she's about to get fired. The energy that you bring to the table, right here in Nassau and Suffolk County, the energy is on fire. The crowd is amazing. We've never seen anything like this, folks. The last time New York saw a movement like this was 1994. The experts said it couldn't be done. But George Pataki won that election and made a promo and knocked him right out of his ass and changed New York for 12 straight years. This is how we save our state. This is how we send a loud and clear message. We're done with cashless mail. We're done with their destructive. They've destroyed our criminal justice system and there's blood on their hands. This is about justice and putting taxpayers ahead of criminals once and for all. And with your help, and we need everything you got, I need every ounce of energy, every second you have that you can volunteer for this team between now and when the polls close. We need it because our destiny is on the line. Our opportunity is now. We don't get a do-over. We don't get to come back next year and say, we'll really get them next time. This is our last stand in the state of New York. With your help, we can do it. We're here to see a very special guest on top of our ticket, Lee Zeldin, Governor Ron DeSantis. We're going to have our own Ron DeSantis. His name is Lee Zeldin. You're going to get it done, and we're going to take this movement all the way across New York. They thought they'd take us down to 4 seats in Congress. We're fighting for 12. We have enough juice in New York to flip the House of Representatives and fire Nancy Pelosi once and for all. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get this done in 10 short days. Change the world, change New York, make history. And then in 2 years, Joe Biden, you're next. God bless you. God bless Long Island. God bless the great state of New York. And God bless America.
You're next, Lieutenant Governor Allison Esposito.
To quote our present governor, why does this mean so much to us? Why does public safety mean so much to us? Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not a politician. I'm a cop. And it means a hell of a lot to me. Why does it mean so much to us? Why does public safety and law and order mean so much to us? Because we have babies as young as a year old, shot and killed in their strollers by stray gang bullets, fired by individuals who had 3 and 4 and 5 arrests for firearms and shouldn't have been out on the streets. Because we're sending our cops every day out on the street to take loaded illegal firearms off the waistbands of gang members, sometimes 2, 3, 4, and 5 times, same perps. And they're back in the precinct collecting their property to go home before my cops were even done processing the arrest. We are watching a time where we are being told everything we know to be good is bad, and everything we know and believe to be bad is not only good, but somehow virtuous. Ladies and gentlemen, the silent majority is awake. And we are coming for our state back. First we're coming for our state, and then we're going to come save our country. Governor Zeldin, future Governor Zeldin, is the man to do it. Ladies and gentlemen, under the Zeldin-Esposito administration, we will unapologetically back the blue! We will fire dangerous and reckless district attorneys like Manhattan Zeldin Brown, who refuse to uphold their oath of office and fail to prosecute crimes. We will send a shockwave through the state. The criminals no longer own the streets. Ladies and gentlemen, you as parents and you alone decide what's best for you, your family, and your children. We had heroes. We opened up the windows. We banged pots and pans. We yelled. We yelled, heroes, we support you. Firemen, doctors, nurses, cops. Essential workers, you know, the ones the government said could put food on their table? The ones that were allowed out in the pandemic? The heroes. And then when they made the very personal decision not to take a shot, we fired them like they were nothing. They need their jobs back and with back pay. Ladies and gentlemen, what we allow will continue. And we will no longer allow our ruling elite to decide what's best for us as New Yorkers. We are a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. And we are going to do this. We are going to do this. We have the right guy at the right time for the top of the ticket. This is not a red wave. This is a common sense wave. This is a red, white, and blue wave. Republicans, Democrats, independents, and people who have never voted before standing up and saying enough. We want our government back. We want integrity and leadership back. We want to decide what's best for us back. Personal freedom and personal accountability, along with public safety, are on the ballot on November 8th. Stand with us. Stand with us. There's a lot of energy here tonight. But we need you in the next 10 days. It's going to be 9 days. I need you to talk to everyone. Up and down the street, families, friends, co-workers, relatives. Sally down the block that you don't like and get them out to vote. Get them out to vote, because we are too busy concentrating on what divides us and not enough on what unites us. We are Americans. And we have forgotten that in America, it's not just a right to vote. It's a duty to vote. It's an obligation to vote. We owe it to our children to vote. We owe it to ourselves to vote. And ladies and gentlemen, we will together go to sleep on November 8th with hope. Hope that the dawn will bring new opportunity. Hope that the dawn will bring back freedoms. Hope that the dawn will bring back personal accountability and law and order. We will do this, and we will do this together. 24 years ago as a cop, I stood in New York City and I raised my right hand. I vowed to protect and serve the people of the city of New York. With your help, on January 1st, I will once again raise my right hand, only this time standing next to then Governor Zeldin. And we will both vow to lead and protect all of the people of New York State, and we will deliver back to you the New York State that you deserve. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Long Island co-chair for Zeldin for New York and Nassau County Executive, Bruce Blakeman.
Let's get down to business. Let's get down to business. Give you one more night to get this. We've had
is throwing out those government officials that masked our kids. To throw out those government officials that took our senior citizens and sent them back to nursing homes to die. To those elected officials that make crime a relevant aspect of everybody's life in communities that used to be safe. Now what are we going to do about that? Ladies and gentlemen, leadership counts. Look what Ron DeSantis has done in Florida. You know why he's here tonight? Because he's joining us on a mission to save America. And it starts right here on Long Island. Chairman Garcia and Chairman Cairo last year had perhaps the greatest victory we ever had in the Republican Party and the Conservative Party, with independents and blank voters voting with us because, as Allison said, we have to restore common sense back in our government. This is the crowd in Albany that would allow us to go to Costco during the pandemic, but banned us from going to our churches and our synagogues. And this is the crowd. This is the crowd that wanted to defund our police officers. Now let me tell you something. Our cops in Nassau County are doing a great job. Let's hear it for them. Our cops in Suffolk County are doing a great job. Now it's our job to back them, to back the blue. Back the blue! Back the blue! Back the blue! Okay, now listen. You've all done a great job. But we're in the third quarter here. We can't give up. We can't stop. We've got to email, we've got to text, we've got to Instagram, we've got to go door to door. We've got to give a little more money. Go on the website, make a contribution. Even a small one makes a difference. We all have to do more because we're on this mission. We're on this mission not for us, but for our children and our grandchildren and our great-grandchildren. That's why we're on this mission, to save this state. And let me tell you something. I have never seen energy before like I've seen here tonight. The red wave started on Long Island, and we're going to bring Lee Zeldin and Allison Esposito to victory. But
I don't know.
again, we must all do our job. This country is worth saving. This state is worth saving. This island is worth saving. And if we don't do it, what is going to happen to our kids? So here's what we got to do. We've got to let everybody know in this state what they have to do. They have to start at the top of the ticket with Lee Zeldin and vote Republican and Conservative all the way down. All the way down. You've heard of A to Z. We're starting with Z this year and going down. And we're going to go to a great victory. So, I want you to do one thing for Ron DeSantis, okay? And I want you to do this for Lee Zeldin and Allison Esposito and the whole ticket. Here's what I want you to do. Ron DeSantis is going to come out in a couple of minutes, okay? He comes from Florida, okay? A red state. We want him to know that we're painting this state red. So I want you all to go right now. Zeldin! 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 God bless you all! God bless America!
I'm Lee Zeldin. Why am I up here? Because in Kathy Hochul's New York, everything's upside down. Wealthy donors get lucrative contracts. You get high taxes. Cash sleepless nights, and almost $1 billion tax dollars given to a billionaire football owner while you get soaked. I'm from a working class family, served our country, was a tough prosecutor. Now, I'm going to get New York headed in the right direction.
A man aggressively attacks Lee Zeldin with a weapon. Only hours later, the attacker was released under New York's dangerous cashless bail program, the very program Lee Zeldin has promised to overhaul as governor. Kathy Hochul sees the endless headlines about violent crime across New York, yet refuses to end cashless bail that puts every family's safety in jeopardy. That's unconscionable. Protect your family. Vote Lee Zeldin for governor.
Are we ready to fire Kathy Hochul? Do we want to repeal cashless bail? How about firing district attorneys who refuse to enforce the law like Alvin Bragg? We oppose defund the police movement entirely, and we too unapologetically support our men and women in law enforcement. We do it for the kids. We do it for our safety. Are we ready to save our state? Losing is not an option. I'm Lee Zeldin. Kathy Hochul cut a ridiculous deal to give almost $1 billion of your tax dollars to a billionaire football owner for a new stadium. The deal's been called a taxpayer ripoff, grossly unethical, a poor investment, indefensible, and corrupt. News reports have exposed that Hochul herself could benefit financially from the deal. When it comes to abusing your money, Kathy Hochul was clearly paying attention to everything corrupt that Cuomo taught her. I'm Lee Zeldin. It's time New York finally has a governor from Suffolk or Nassau County. Together we can make that happen. I was born and raised here. After serving our country, I returned home to raise our family here. I've always fought for our Long Island values, from supporting our police to lowering taxes on working families. Now I'm asking for your vote on June 28th. Together, we can save our state.
Lee Zeldin proviene de un barrio de clase trabajadora, un soldado, un fiscal firme contra el crimen y un dedicado hombre de familia que, como usted, está preocupado por el aumento de los delitos violentos. Kathy Hochul, ella nos ha fallado. Lee Zeldin no nos fallará. Zeldin pondrá fin a las fianzas sin efectivo de Hochul y despedirá a los fiscales débiles. Y Lee Zeldin apoyará a ciudadanos respetuosos de la ley como José Alba. Lee Zeldin está de nuestro lado.
New Yorkers are punished with the highest tax burden in America. In the last 2 years, New York has lost a higher percentage of jobs than every other state but 2. On Hochul's watch, New York is the most corrupt state in the nation. Under Hochul, violent crimes have surged. And New York State is at the top for people moving away. They're leaving before Kathy Hochul drives us all over a cliff to where there is no return. Let's save our state before it's too late. Lee Zeldin for governor, soldier, family man, tax-fighting reformer, and a pretty darn good driver. They're at it again. The Albany establishment politicians are trying to brainwash us into thinking we must vote for their hand-picked candidate. These are the people who handed us Elliot Spitzer, Bill de Blasio, the king of corruption, Andrew Cuomo, and now they've trotted out Cuomo's accomplice, Kathy Hochul. Well, you know what? We don't have to accept their punishing taxes. Submit to their pro-criminal laws like cashless bail, or blindly follow them over the cliff of mediocrity, where unaffordability, violent crime, and more corruption are waiting. We can fight back, open our eyes, and save our state. Lee Zeldin for governor, a soldier, family man, tax-fighting reformer, and one of us.
It's an old camera. I can only say that. It's the old camera. Yeah, it's freaking get anything. You're
Ladies and gentlemen, your next governor, Lee Zeldin.
Is Long Island ready to fire Kathy Hochul? 10 more days, 1 week and a half left, and we have this incredible opportunity to be able to save our state. You know, listen, we want to be able to say that we live in the greatest state in the greatest country in the history of the world. But then we call up our friends and family in other places like Florida and elsewhere. And then they point out to us, they say, well, doesn't New York lead the entire country in out-migration? So how can you say that you live in the greatest state in the greatest country in the history of the world? Now, the reason why people are leaving this state is because of a breaking point that is being hit. Attacks on wallets and safety and freedom and the quality of our kids' education. And New Yorkers are looking elsewhere. And they're seeing that their money will go further, they'll feel safer, they'll live life freer. And that's why New York leads the entire nation in population loss. We have an opportunity in 10 days to turn it all around. So we had a debate a few days ago. I don't know if any of you caught that. And while we were at this debate, there was question after question after question about crime, and that's good, because this is a really important topic to so many New Yorkers. See, we want a government that isn't passing pro-criminal laws. We want district attorneys to actually do their jobs and enforce the law. And we want to back unapologetically our selfless, dedicated men and women in blue. So it's good that they were asking us these questions about rising crime. And I pointed out after a whole bunch of these questions that Kathy Hochul had not yet covered the whole prosecuting the bad guy part of keeping our streets safe. Now you might call that a tip. I was giving her a hint. I was helping her. And her response was that she does not understand why this is so important to me. And when Kathy Hochul says that she doesn't understand why this is so important to me, she's saying that she doesn't understand why this is so important to all of us. When Kathy Hochul says that because of my views I am no longer a New Yorker, and she demands I get on a bus and I move to Florida, it's actually an attack on millions of other New Yorkers. If you want to be the governor of New York State, you're signing up to be the governor for all New Yorkers. We are not going anywhere. We are staying to fight for our state. We are taking it back in 10 days. We're going to have a government that we are proud of again. We're going to have a government that y'all are in charge of again. You know, we've seen it play out in a few different ways. Kathy Hochul, she was never elected governor. She was elected lieutenant governor, and she's filling the remainder of someone else's term. But she acts like she's, running for a 15th term. It's important to be humble. The reality is, I am the 4th highest ranking person on this stage right now. And in January 1st, when we all head up to Albany as your next governor, just like I am the 4th highest ranking person in my house here on Long Island, I'll be the 4th highest ranking person in that house up in Albany. It's important to stay grounded. I'm currently
currently serving right now in my 20th year in the Army. I'm outranked by a whole lot of people. A lot of sirs and ma'ams come out of my mouth in military duty. I am looking out at a crowd of many, many, many thousands of Long Islanders who came out strong. And just to give a hint to the people who are here covering today's event, we started to plan this event yesterday. And for the next 10 days, there is no way that Kathy Hochul will be able to replicate the energy and momentum that we have. We are pushing full steam ahead, not looking back. Losing this race is not an option. I am looking out at many thousands of people who are New Yorkers, your residents, your voters. Kathy Hochul looks at you as her apostle. She's actually said that. When she was imposing her COVID vaccine mandate on healthcare workers, she was pushing it on people and saying that you should take the COVID vaccine and be her apostle. My position is, if you want to get it, get it. And if you don't want to get it, don't get it. But don't do it because you're serving me. There should be no COVID vaccine mandate on anyone at any level for any reason, anywhere. And everyone who is fired should get their jobs back with back pay. Kathy Hochul was at a New York State Association of Counties meeting, and she referred to herself as the mother of New York's 62 counties. I am able to promise you this. At no point will I ever refer to myself or even think about myself as the father of New York's 62 counties. I promise you. So I was doing an interview a couple weekends back on Maria Bartiromo's show on Fox News, and she asked me what my goals were for the first 100 days. That's a good question. I told her, actually, what I've been thinking about is what can we accomplish in the first 100 minutes? Because we have a state to save. So, what I believe needs to get done as soon as we are sworn into office, we raise our hand, we take an oath, and for our first act, the first day that we are in office, we are going to tell the Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg that he is going to be removed for his refusal to enforce the law. Now listen, the next step is doing what Kathy Hochul should do right now, doing what the state legislature should do, but they're not willing to do their job. They're saying that they're not going to come to the table to make the fixes on all these different pro-criminal laws that they've passed. So we are going to force them to come to the table. As soon as we are sworn in the state of New York, we are going to do what Kathy Hochul could do today if she had any courage. We are going to declare a crime emergency here in the state of New York. And when you all go to sleep the night of January 1st, the following pro-criminal laws are going to be suspended in the state of New York. Cashless bail, less is more, raise the age, the discovery law changes, and the HALT Act, all suspended on day one. We're going to force the legislature to come to the table to work with us. And I'm happy to work with absolutely anyone to find common ground however possible. It's our job. If anyone was to look around this group right now, there are Republicans and Democrats and Independents. And every single day, people tell me, Lee, I'm a Democrat, I've always voted Democrat, but this year, I'm voting for you. It's the first time I ever voted for a Republican in my life. There are people who tell me, Lee, if you do not win this race, then I'm leaving the state. Well, listen, the first thing that comes to mind, it's not about whether or not I win this race. This is about us. This is about we. We need to win this race to save the state. And part of that first day action is, shouldn't be required. But we need to state it clearly here in the state of New York, and there's a whole lot of parents who are here tonight. I want to recognize in New York that a parent has a fundamental right to control the upbringing of their child, and they do not relinquish that right by sending their kids off to school. I say that the best thing for a child's education is for a parent to be as involved as possible. The best thing for a child's upbringing is for a family unit to be as strong as possible. And on day one, every single COVID mandate that we can get rid of is going to be gone. We have a lot to do. From reversing the state's ban on the safe extraction of natural gas, the Southern Tier is desperate for it. Are y'all ready for New York to be energy independent, exporting energy to other states, exporting energy to even other countries? Now listen, I didn't even know if I was going to work up the courage to be here today because Mark Ruffalo recorded a video attacking me, and it really hurt my feelings. He recorded this video attacking me, and in the video, it shows water faucets going on and fire coming out because of reversing the state's ban on the safe extraction of natural gas. That's what he said would happen. So when we cut off Russian oil imports, and you see the government running off to Venezuela and Saudi Arabia and elsewhere, we're all scratching our heads. We have the resource right here. But it got worse. After Mark Ruffalo tweeted this, and I'm so happy that my family is still willing to stand next to me after this most embarrassing moment, Leonardo DiCaprio retweeted it. I was crushed. I was humiliated. And then Amy Schumer tweeted at me. And I just needed to be out here with my friends tonight to figure out how to recover from the devastating impact. Now we have a very special guest here tonight. And I gotta tell you, I mean, listen, we served together in the House. He's a friend. He's doing an amazing job. But before that, I hope he understands. By the way, talking about loyalty here, Ariana already has her Ron DeSantis Florida governor hat on. She has her Gators for DeSantis button on. But listen, I would not be able to do this. Ron would not be able to do this if not for our families. My loving wife, Diana, Michaela, Ariana. You wanna know why this is so important to me, to fight crime? These two girls were at home doing homework at their kitchen table when my house just 3 weekends ago became the site of a drive-by gang shooting. They're sitting there just doing their homework. All across this entire state, people want to take our streets back. They're concerned about soaring crime, crushing taxes, skyrocketing costs. They're upset about DAs releasing violent criminals to run free. New Yorkers struggling to heat their homes, to be able to feed their families. And with this opportunity that is just 10 days away, we will not let it pass us by. I ask you to support all the great candidates who are here. The rest of the statewide ticket. Allison Esposito for Lieutenant Governor. Michael O'Henry running for Attorney General. Paul Rodriguez running for New York State Comptroller. Joe Pinion running against Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer. And great candidates running for Congress and State Senate and State Assembly and judicial races. It's important for all of us to make sure we are getting out. This morning was the start of in-person early voting. Tomorrow at 11 a.m. for anyone who wants to come hit doors, there will be a meetup right here. We need everybody to do everything everywhere. Emails, cell phones, text messages, word of mouth,
strangers, family, co-workers, neighbors, everybody. We have to make sure that we are all doing everything in our power with our moment, with this opportunity to make sure, taking nothing for granted, that on Tuesday night, November 8th, you are going to be able to watch, you are going to be able to listen to a concession speech delivered by Kathy Hogan. At the beginning of January, we're all going to be able to tune into C-SPAN and watch the gavel permanently come out of the hands of former Speaker Nancy Pelosi. We are going to be able to watch the gavels come out of the hands of Maxine Waters and Adam Schiff and Jerry Nadler, and we'll have the balance of power restored. And right here in New York, something that they said was impossible. In 1994, a little-known state legislator named George Pataki, they said he had no chance. Our state was at a crossroads, and we made the decision, the right decision as New Yorkers then, to be able to save our state. And now in 2022, we are going to do our part to make history with this crossroads we have today, to ensure that we did everything in our power to successfully elect a new governor here in the state of New York. Florida was at a crossroads in 2018. Florida could have elected actually put her Zeldin hat back on. Florida was at a crossroads in 2018. Think of how different Florida would have been if they went the other way. What I hear from the crowd, by the way, Ron DeSantis, wherever you are, what I heard was a whole bunch of audible oh my gods. Ron DeSantis did so much, from the economics, respecting freedom, respecting his constituents, understanding public service is about serving the public, not being served by the public. Ron is a military man. He is a fighter. He is someone who is a fantastic leader and governor. And tonight he is our very special guest. Let's give him a big Long Island welcome to the governor of Florida, Ron DeSantis.
I think it's great in politics when you don't have to choose between the lesser of two evils. You can actually support a very strong, capable candidate. And Lee Zeldin is that man, and he's the guy that can turn New York around. I've known him for a number of years. I've served with him. He's a veteran. He's somebody that has very strong values. And most importantly, he is capable of exercising leadership. And that's what you need more than anything else, and especially out of the governor's office. I can tell you, he had mentioned that we had a close race and how Florida could have gone, and that really depended on you being able to make strong decisions, being able to do the right decisions. I'll never forget July of 2020, COVID's going on, and I had every Democrat in Florida in our Congress delegation write me a letter saying you cannot have business open. You need mandates. You need to shut down the state. You need to impose shelter in place and mandates. And the press they were saying the same thing. They're hammering me, the left's hammering me, all this other stuff. But you know, leadership is not about caving when you're under pressure, okay? Leadership is about standing strong. So I took that letter, I read it, I thought about it, and I said, gee, if we do that, it will destroy the state of Florida. We would plunge millions of people's lives into turmoil, it would violate their rights, and it would cost thousands of businesses and hundreds of thousands of jobs. So I took the letter, I crumpled it up, and I threw it in the trash can. And I can tell you, I know that's not how things went in New York, because I had a lot of people flee New York and tell me about some of the abuse of power that we see. And I can tell you, Lee Zeldin, he would be making the same types of decisions to protect your freedom that I made to protect the freedom of people in Florida. So I'm here to support a good guy, but I'm also here personally as the governor of Florida. Probably we, more than any other state, have an interest in elections that take place in other parts of the country. Because, for example, you have this Georgia governor's race, and the Democrats have this candidate, Stacey Abrams. And look, I think our governor's going to be fine. I think he's going to win a big victory. But this is just a fact. If Stacey Abrams were to win governor of Georgia, that would absolutely spark Georgia refugees coming into the state of Florida. No question that would happen. And so you see that, and again, I think we're going to be fine. When de Blasio got elected mayor of New York, you know how much real estate in South Florida spiked when he got elected mayor of New York City? A lot, let me tell you. So that has a huge impact. And you have a situation here where not only is your state making terrible decisions and driving people away, you actually have a governor who is telling Republicans in New York to leave the state. How pathetic is that? So I think the proof is in the pudding about whether a state is managed well or not. And since 2020, when COVID hit, Florida has led the nation in net in-migration. We've led the nation in wealth coming in to the state of Florida. We've led the nation in new business formations. On and on it goes. And here's the thing. I hear stories from people within that migration that will tell me why they left. And it's not just New York, it's Illinois, California, all these other places. But I will have people come up to me and give me like a big hug and say, thank God for Florida. I couldn't take it anymore. I was just at the Florida-Georgia game. I did the coin toss, but before the game, some guy in the stands yells, comes down, I just moved my business from New York and I'm so happy because of how bad they're doing. That is not good government when you're driving successful people away. And I think about we probably have more people who leave NYPD, Port Authority, FDNY, and some of them just leave to come and work in Florida, but when they retire, they all take their retirement to Florida. And it's like, that's not good policy of New York to be driving these people away. So we are seeing that every day. I'm seeing the people that are coming to Florida. And look, I'm happy to have folks, these are my people. They're voting for me, so I like them. Don't get me wrong. But man, do you really want to continue with policies that are doing that? And I would say the number one thing I hear where people get so fed up is they are sick and tired of the crime that you see, particularly in New York City. Florida is a law and order state. I am a law and order governor. If Lee Zeldin gets into office, New York will become a law and order state, and he will be a law and order governor. And the crime problem has been totally self-inflicted. You cut police budgets, you do things like eliminate cash bail, and you have rogue prosecutors who won't even enforce laws that they disagree with. Of course you're going to have streets that are less safe. Of course you're going to have people that aren't able to do the basics without fearing for their safety. So one of the things you need that Lee Zeldin will offer in New York and what I do in Florida, we stand up for the people of law enforcement, the people that wear the uniform. We've got their back. You didn't see me marching 2 years ago attacking law enforcement, not in the state of Florida. No how, no way. And yeah, part of it is just that moral support. They know that you got their back. But we also take tangible steps to show that we appreciate our first responders. For 2 years in a row, I've done $1,000 bonuses for every first responder in the state of Florida. It's 100,000 people. And because we see how poorly some of these guys are treated in places like Seattle and Chicago, we created a police recruitment program. If you leave one of those places and come to Florida, you get a $5,000 signing bonus. And now we have a wait list as long as the eye can see. So Lee Zeldin understands that. He will stand up for the men and women of law enforcement. The other thing that he will do, and that what New York really needs to do, you need to stop coddling criminals. Stop turning them loose on the street. They'll commit a crime and they put them right back out. Stop releasing people early from prison. If you do crime, you must do the time. And we need to focus more on supporting the rights of the victims of crime and not be so concerned about the rights of the criminal. Lee Zeldin will not coddle these people. He will hold them accountable, and you will be safer as a result. Another thing I saw people complain when they came down, they were really upset, people in like New York City who moved to Florida, at the George Floyd riots that happened in 2020. And I can tell you, when that started going on in other places in this country, in Florida, I called out the National Guard immediately. I had people ready. We were not going to let our cities burn down. We were not going to let our businesses be destroyed. And I guarantee you, if Lee Zeldin were governor back when that happened, he would have done the same thing. He would have stopped that in its tracks. We've also, though, in Florida, and I would love to see him be able to get in and work with the legislature here to do it, we said, you know, you look at all the rioting that's going on. In Portland, they'll get arrested for rioting and they get their mugshot taken, they get a slap on the wrist and they get put right back on the street. And so in Florida we say that doesn't work. If you're rioting, if you're looting, if you're engaging in mob violence, you're not getting a slap on the wrist, you're getting the inside of a jail cell. We're holding you accountable. We have a major problem in this country with rogue prosecutors who get into office, usually funded by people like George Soros, and they say they want to reimagine criminal justice. And their version of doing that is to just ignore duly enacted laws and to let criminals get away with crimes. You know, in San Francisco, they were letting them steal $999. If you didn't steal $1,000, they just wouldn't prosecute you. People get their cars broken into with nothing happening. People get assaulted. They have a prosecutor in LA. He doesn't prosecute the people. The women have to take off their jewelry just to go shopping in the middle of the day. So that is wrong. And in Florida, I can tell you, when we had a prosecutor who was not following the law, I removed him from his post. And I can't wait that when Lee Zeldin becomes governor, he is going to go to Manhattan and he is going to remove the district attorney in Manhattan. I'm also excited to see Lee as governor because this state needs better management. You need somebody who knows how to run these things. You know, I look at the comparison between Florida and New York, and obviously we don't even need to talk about taxes. You all know the difference in the taxes. We have one of the lowest tax burdens in the country. New York has one of the highest tax burdens in the country. But here's the thing, our budget in Florida, we're now, I think, 3 million more people than New York State has in Florida, and yet your budget is over twice the size of our budget in the state of Florida. But the question is how is that money being spent? Because I can tell you that New Yorkers that come to Florida, they say we have better services and we have better infrastructure in Florida. We also just had the results from the nation's report card for the grade, the comparison between the states on schooling, and Florida ranked number 3 in the nation for 4th grade reading and number 4 in the nation for 4th grade math. When I was a kid, we were a lot lower than New York. Now we're a lot higher. So again, where is all that money being spent? And I don't even need to get into the debt. New York has one of the highest per capita debt ratios in the country. We in Florida have one of the lowest. And so we know how to manage. They're not managing it well here. But Lee Zeldin will upset this apple cart. He's going to start holding these people accountable. And you see all the different corruption and all this stuff. You need somebody to go in there and just clean house in Albany, and Lee's the guy to do that. And think about like responsiveness of government and having a leader that can actually get things done. We unfortunately in Florida last month, we had a massive hurricane come through our state and hit southwest Florida. Fort Myers and Sanibel and a lot of these areas got it really bad. It really went through the entire state and left the Atlantic Ocean, so it did a lot of damage. And the morning after the storm in southwest Florida, you saw a bridge to one of our islands called Pine Island, totally destroyed. And then you saw a causeway going to Sanibel Island. It was severed in 3 different places. And so the folks were telling the people who lived on those islands, get off the island, it's going to be 6 months to a year before this stuff is patched up. Well, those folks came to me, and it wasn't a state bridge or a state road or any of that. They came to me, they say, Governor, can you help us? And I was like, yeah, I want to help. We got to figure out what we can do. So we put our mind to it. We ripped through all the bureaucracy and all the red tape. We went down to Pine Island and we fixed the bridge in 3 days. Now, if you believe your governor would have been able to fix a bridge in 3 days, I got some ocean front property out in Arizona I would like to sell you. I don't think that would have happened here. We also have a situation where your governor believes in lockdown policies and in mandates. She believes it, and I think that if you look at how those policies were implemented in New York, those policies were destructive. You drove off a lot of people, you drove off a lot of businesses, and the way these restaurants were treated was unbelievable. A lot of those restaurants have moved to Florida or set up an outpost in Florida. So those were destructive policies. I don't think that she believes they were, and I know she believes in imposing mandates on the people of New York. In Florida, we do it much differently. Our policy is very simple. Nobody should have to choose between a job they need and a shot they don't want. And when they're imposing these, I mean, they literally wanted to fire nurses, cops, firefighters. These are people that have been working all through COVID. Now all of a sudden, and most of them had COVID, by the way. Most of them had natural immunity. CDC wouldn't recognize that, but the reality is, it is what it is. So they want to fire these people all of a sudden. And so we pass legislation to protect folks, and your government's here in the city, they wanted to send these people out. I think a lot of people did lose their jobs because we've hired some of them, in the state of Florida. And so that's wrong. And it's a violation of your freedom. It's also a total fraud. Those mandates were not based on medical science. They were engineered to force your compliance with their agenda, and that's it. And I know in Florida, and I know Lee Zeldin will protect this as well, but in Florida, we have prohibited schools from forcing COVID shots on the students. Not gonna happen. Your governor wants those mandates on the students and probably wants to put them in masks again, to be honest. You're starting to see, there was some article, I think in like one of these corporate media papers saying, you know, it's time to put masks back on again. And I'll tell you, there is no time for any type of mandates. And so if you have Lee as governor, he's going to put the kibosh on any attempt to impose medical mandates. You also need somebody like Lee as governor when it comes to the issue of education, because we saw how our students were treated in so many of these leftist jurisdictions over the last 2 years. We saw teachers' unions wanting to lock kids out of school for months and months and months, and even over a year in some instances, and that is wrong. And the school system is there to support the community. It's not there to supersede the rights of parents. You as parents have the right to have a fundamental role in the education of your kids and the upbringing. Lee Zeldin understands that. We have a Parents' Bill of Rights in the state of Florida. You guys need to get one of those in New York. And parents want a school system that is focused on educating kids, not on indoctrinating kids. We don't have time for theories like critical race theory, which is teaching kids to hate our country or to hate each other and divide us on the basis of skin color. No, we want to have real history, and we want to teach American civics and the Constitution and the Bill of Rights and understanding what it means to be an American. We also means that what's in school needs to be appropriate for young people. And we had a fight in Florida, you know, over a bill where we just said very simply, you know, you should be able to send your kids to elementary school without having things like gender ideology injected into the curriculum. It is wrong to teach these young kids that their gender is a choice, or that they may have been born in the wrong body. We've drawn a line on the sand in that in the state of Florida, but I can tell you, you're seeing it all across the rest of the country. And the media didn't like when we did that, the left didn't like when we did that. We even had a big company that you may have heard of in Central Florida, Disney, that came out and tried to fight the bill. And look, you know, yeah, they usually get what they want, and really in Florida for probably 60 years they've gotten what they want. Not with this governor in office. You don't get what you want. We're going to do what's right for the people of Florida. And so we rejected that pressure, and we stood up for parents, and we stood up for kids, and we even just said, look, you can do your woke activism, but we're not going to subsidize it. So they had gotten a lot of subsidies, their own government, exemptions from law, tax breaks. So we worked with the legislature and said, Disney's not going to have its own government anymore. They're going to live under the same laws as everybody else, and they're going to pay their fair share of taxes in the state of Florida. So that is happening. Another thing we did in education is say that, and I have 2 daughters, our girls and our women athletes have a right to compete with fairness and with integrity. And when you have somebody competing on the men's team for 3 years, men, and then switches to the women's team and then, quotes, win the championship, you're taking away opportunities for girls and women athletes who have worked hard to be able to succeed. So we've signed legislation in Florida protecting women's sports, and I know Lee Zeldin will stand up for our women athletes in New York. If you think about it, a lot of what has been done in New York is really a facsimile of some of the problems we're seeing out of Washington, D.C. You know, you had Biden come in, and what has he done? Has he made life better for anybody? Of course not. They cranked the printing presses, they borrowed money, they spent trillions and trillions of dollars, even though they were warned that this would spark inflation. They went to war on our own domestic energy industry, Now they're begging Maduro and OPEC for oil, but it means all of you are paying more for your energy needs. So we have the worst inflation we've had in 40 years with no end in sight, and one of the worst energy policies we've had. And what is their answer to this, to say they're going to give you relief? They pass a bill called the Inflation Reduction Act. So they think the way to tackle inflation is to hire 87,000 new IRS agents. You know, I think every member of Congress that voted for those IRS agents should have to be audited every year by the IRS. And I think career politicians like Nancy Pelosi need to be retired with congressional term limits. That would make it a lot better. Honestly, if you're going to do 87,000 of something, I'd like to see 87,000 new Border Patrol agents to get that border under control. They don't seem to care about that, even though we've had millions of people come across illegally, even though the cartels are eating our lunch and making a fortune at the border, even though fentanyl is at record levels in this country and the overdoses are at levels we haven't seen. They don't care about that. They don't care about the criminal aliens that have come in. There have been over 90 terrorists, suspected terrorists, that came across in the last fiscal year. They don't care about that, but they get really upset if 50 of them are sent to Martha's Vineyard. Then they get upset. But I think with Lee Zeldin in office, when you talk about energy, New York and the western part of New York, you have massive amounts of natural gas potential. And yet, because of ideology, they're not letting it. That's jobs, economy, and it creates more energy security for you. So I like to see him get in there and unleash your own energy here in the state of New York. So I think this is an important choice for the state of New York. Do you want to continue down the path that you're on? A path that's seen you hemorrhage people, wealth, you name it, or do you want to try a different direction? If you are tired of the same old story, well, you have the power to turn the page. You have the power to elect Lee Zeldin as the next governor of the state of New York. You will roll with some changes, and this will be the 21st century version of the shot heard round the world.